In this tutorial, we will see how variables and constant variables works and why do we really need to use them in every program. So as we know that programming is all about data, like manipulating the data to do read and write from that data, we really need to store that data somewhere. And for that we can use variables and constant variables which can help us to easily store these data so that we can access them anytime, anywhere we want. Now let's see what are variables. Variables are named location, or if we simply say variable is a storage or a container where we can store our data. But the good point about variables that they are changeable, like we can change its value during program execution. Here we have an example: integer marks having value 10. Integer is a data type and marks is a name of variable. So if you have any difficulty what are data types, so you can check our previous video which is about data types in C++. I've already given the link in the description, so you can check it once. So now let's see this example in memory. Our variable will look like this in memory as we can see it in this diagram. Marks is name of our variable and 10 is the value stored in this variable. We said that variables are named locations, so it basically means that it will assign a name or an address for our value in memory so that we can easily identify where our value is stored in a memory and can easily access that value anywhere from memory. But if we want to store accurate values in memory so that user cannot manipulate the data or cannot change that data during program execution, so for that we use constant variables. What are constant variables? Constant is unchangeable or read-only. For example, value of pi, which is 3.14. It is an accurate value, or minutes in hours, which are 60. We can't say that there are 80 minutes or 70 minutes in an hour because it will be more than an hour. So for storing such accurate values, we will need to use constant variables. And constants are also variables because they also allocate location for data in memory, but the only difference is that the data stored in a constant variable cannot be changed and the data stored in a variable can be changed. So now let's see the syntax of creating a constant variable and a variable. So here is declaration of variable and constant variable. To create a variable, first we have to define its type, then variable name, and then assign a value to that variable. The same way we can do for declaring or creating a constant variable. And the only difference is the usage of this keyword const. The syntax of constant variable is like, first we have to write the keyword const, then its type, then the name of variable, and then assign a value to it, as we can see in these examples. Now since everything is clear about variables and constant variables, that how they works, how they are declared in a program, and why do we really need to use them in our program. So now let's jump into implementing them. So now in this program, first we will write an example for variable, like integer, variable name age, and we will give it a value of 23. So why we have used age here as a variable? Because it's not an accurate data, so it can be changed. Now let's write as a comment variable here so that you can easily understand it. Variable. Now let's write an example for constant variable. First we will write keyword const, then data type float, variable name pi, and then we'll assign it a value which is 3.14. Now let's write constant. Here we have used the data float because this 3.14 is a decimal point value. Now let's see out or print it. Like see out, write the name of variable age and line, and see out pi. Now as we know that see out is used to print the message stored in these variables, like in age, that's why we have written it in the see out, and also the pi. Now let's execute and run it. So here is the output. We can see here that the variable age has printed the value 23 and the float pi has printed 3.14, so which is correct. Now let's see that how important this const word is in this program. We have removed it, and now we are going to change the value of pi from 3.14 to something else. Like let's write pi is equal to for example 22.5, and let's check that is it showing us any error like or not. Compile and see, it's not showing us any error, but it's showing us the new value which is stored in pi, which is 22.5, and this is something wrong. Like we cannot do this with constant variables. So since we have removed this constant variable, so we can change this, like we can manipulate. Now let's write this const value and check that. Now can we change it or not? Now let's execute it. See, it's showing us an error. Red line indicates that this is an error because it's a constant variable and we cannot change its data. So now let's remove this new line of code and now check it if it shows any error or not. Now see, it's not showing any error and it's showing us the exact data that we have stored in these two variables. So this is all for this video.